Well, hello friends, welcome back. Today I am just going to do a December day, kind of like a day of my life, but I'm just going to take you through my day and really maximize the peaceful moments. I feel like there is so much noise during the month of December, always. It's not isolated to just this year, but especially with creating content and looking on YouTube and just all around us in general, honestly, there's so much noise. There's so much, you should buy this, you should buy that. These are all of the activities that we're doing for Christmas, and those things are great, but a lot of the times that's why we find ourselves feeling like we missed Christmas, or we have run ourselves so ragged that we just can't wait for it to be over and to start the new year. So I'm really trying to slow down, especially if you're familiar, then you know this, but especially because we're still going through a time of grieving. My dad passed away just a couple of months ago very unexpectedly, and those things just come out of nowhere, those emotions, especially whenever it's the first holiday season without someone that's always been there and always been very present. So I'm trying to slow down, and I'm really trying to see this season for what it's worth and really just reflect on the true meaning of it, not get caught up in all of the disarray that's going on around me. I feel a great amount of anxiety, just like under the surface, if I'm being honest, because of how much is bustling, how much is on my to-do list. And then we also just have a lot going on in life. Like, to be transparent, our church is going through major leadership changes right now. We really don't have leadership. And so Nicholas and I are taking on a lot of large roles within our church. And so just having that kind of shaken is, I think, contributing to what I'm feeling. But I'm just really trying to, like I said, appreciate what this season is truly about and step into what it is that all the blessings that God wants to give us and use us for in other people's lives as well this December. How come you were up playing at 3 o'clock this morning? Such a good helper. Are you going to have a good day today? Are you going to have a good day at school?
Mine what?
And that one next?
Uh-huh.
Can be. I'll use that next. So there are a couple of things that I'm trying to be very disciplined about this December in order to hopefully better grasp the true reason for the season. And one of those is what this video started out with. I'm really trying to wake up before the girls, which is a challenge because it's like, I don't know if everybody's kids are like this, but it's almost like when you make that extra effort to get up 30 minutes or an hour before them, they start waking up 30 minutes or an hour earlier. And it's almost like there's just no way to beat that. But there are just a couple of things that I'm reading through right now as like a personal devotion, and they're not super heavy or intense. So even if the girls are waking up, it's something that I can do very quickly and still get something out of. So I wanted to share those. First of all, I'm reading through the Psalms, and I love when I'm reading through the Psalms because David is such an emotional writer that he speaks a lot about like personal qualities of the character of God. So am going through, I've done this before, but I'm doing it more extensively now. So I enjoy going through and like underlining all of the parts of the Psalms that talk about God being a God who hears. And then I'll go back through after that and I'll, do a scribble line under every part of the book of Psalms that talks about God being a God who sees. And then I'm seeing a lot of different qualities this time going through the Psalms that I want to go back and circle where it says God being a God who loves or God being a God who responds and just different things like that. So that's really nice, and it's something that it keeps me involved. So it being so early in the morning, it's not extremely difficult for me to keep my focus, because it's almost like I'm looking for specific things and finding them. So I'm acting and just keeping myself busy, my hands and my mind, if that makes sense. And then I'm also using the Ann Voskamp Advent devotional called The Greatest Gift. And this is something that it's not, I grew up in a Baptist church, so we did not do Advent. Like, that was always kind of considered a Catholic thing. I honestly never even heard much about it until, I don't know, maybe like I got to college or even after that. I'm not really sure. And we are still a part of a Baptist church, but I'm in the last few years really realizing how much Advent is a universal thing. Like, it's simply the preparing of our hearts in eager anticipation for the baby that is to be born, which is Jesus Christ, our King. And so going through that, I think, is such a wonderful opportunity for us to grow closer to the Lord and to truly reflect on what Christmas was originally about, what it is about. And I know that there's a lot of arguments out there for, like, was December 25th actually the day that Jesus was born, and all of these things. But the point is that the idea of Christmas in our home revolves around the baby born in Bethlehem. And so that we use December 25th, whether or not that was the actual date, right? But along with Advent and the devotional by Ann Voskamp, in the introduction, she talks a lot about the Jesse tree. And that's another thing that I've not yet made like specific ornaments for us to do a daily devotion. I'm trying to read through a daily devotion revolving around Advent with Rosie, our oldest, but I just am really trying to figure out what it is that I want to do in terms of a Jesse tree, because I think it has such value and meaning at this point, more so for Nicholas and myself because the girls are so young. But I do love that in the introduction she talks about how because of sin we have created this fallenness, this broken world. And so if you look at that as a tree, she says, out of the stump of that fallen tree, watered with the living waters that flow from the depths of his grace, a twig sprouts, and that twig will be the scepter that defeats your sin and lets you grow again. So it's this idea that the twig that's sprouting is the beginning of what we call the Jesse tree, which is the lineage of Christ. It's the family tree of the one that would come and make a way for us to know him and to spend eternity with him. It says, and seek the shoot that bears witness to God, the hardly noticed child, the hymn hummed over the sink, the unassuming woman bent at the register, the dog-eared word of God beckoning from the shelf. Gaze on shoots of glory in order to grow deep roots in God. And I love that idea that most often it is the unassuming moments of life. It's the mundane where we see the most glorious and meaningful and purposeful blessings. And I find such encouragement in that, because it's not the extraordinary things that we do each and every day, or that, the major trips that we go on, or the beautiful landscapes that we stumble upon on a hike or whatever. Like, those things are obviously wonderful and should point us to the Lord. But there's so much in our ordinary lives that we tend to overlook, that I tend to overlook, simply because I do it every day, or it gets hard sometimes and it gets busy. So it's kind of why I love doing a video like this, because I'm able to simply take a camera along with me throughout the day and then look back at all of the amazing things that God is doing in my life that I don't even realize at the time. It's like my camera is an extra set of eyes that it's literally looking through a lens that I do not have in my own vision. And so this has been such an encouragement, and that's kind of what these random notes of gratitude are that keep scrolling across the screen. I think there's such just such importance in thanking God for all of what He's doing. And I have a hard time, like I said, I have a hard time recognizing a lot of that. So I just am really appreciative and excited by this absolutely average day that I experienced, but now getting to play it back. And I definitely recommend you do the same if you've not, or if you're feeling like you're in a rut, like just do something like this. You don't have to put it on YouTube, but just to see your life through an outside perspective. It's really, really sweet. I feel like this video makes it look as if we have our TV on 24/7, and I don't think it's that much. But I'm also not going to pretend that we don't watch TV a good bit. However, I did want to point out that like 15 minutes after I took her that plate of lunch, she was out. Like she was asleep on the couch. And so sometimes transitions are just hard, like getting ready for school, coming home from school, and the TV is a nice distraction. But I just wanted to point out, because I know that if I was watching something like this, I would have a hard time not saying, oh my goodness, all their kid does is watch TV when they're home. But like I said, she was asleep in no time, and in the morning when it's on, she's getting ready for school. So it's just kind of like a background thing, and still not something that I love. I wish that we did more just like quiet background in our home, and maybe hopefully we can transition to that as we get older, because our youngest doesn't care about TV, not a bit. So maybe as they both get older and are playing together and learning from each other a little bit, we can move towards that. But anyways, I felt like I needed to throw that out there. I've been implementing, when we get home in the afternoon, a single office hour. And what I mean by office hour is I've been using it to like clean out my filing drawer or make phone calls. We've been having to deal with a lot of insurance stuff because it's that time of year. But, just different things like that. Doctor's visits, appointments, scheduling, all of those things I try to do during that office hour when the oldest is relaxing or napping and then the youngest is napping. I try to just use 1 hour. And I limit myself to that because I can get carried away. But everything that is pertinent and needs to get done, I do it then. And everything else can wait until the next day. And then it gives me roughly 30 minutes to another hour to rest or edit videos or work on something creative. So I just have loved really implementing that lately. Okay, so I wanted to make an Advent candle, like Advent wreath style, 4 candles in a circle for our kitchen table so that we can light them, throughout the season of Advent. I was actually mentioning that, like, we'd had a conversation about Advent at my preschool, me and the director, and just how, like, she grew up in a church that did it and that recognized it and she really loved it. But we were talking about how a lot of churches don't do it now and just all these different things. And so I was talking with my husband about it, and he was just instantly like cut me off and was like, we should do it. And I just loved that so much that we were on the same page. And I was like, yeah, well, I've been thinking that would be really neat, and just sharing some of my ideas with him. But I was telling him that I would love to have like a visual representation of, the Advent candle. Like, obviously, reading the devotions every day is great, but I wanted something that our girls could see and we could start a tradition of, especially, like I said, from such a young age. They are 3 and 1. So having something in the middle of the table that, we light the next candle each week, I think would be something that they're going to hold on to in their little brains better than the actual daily devotions that we're doing right now. It's just the practice of all of it, right? So I did not want to spend any money, though there are some beautiful things you can purchase. So I used one of my planters that I guess the girls knew I would be needing them to put our gravel rocks in because it was already full of them. And I just used some old potting soil down on top to help wedge the candles into. And then I did not get a ladder, as you saw. I jumped and pulled some greenery down from the trees around our house. I went foraging. That was fun. And yeah, so then I just put this little red velvet bow around it, and I think it turned out really sweet. I'm excited to get started, and I would kind of like the concept of the 4 around the outside and then the 1 in the middle that you actually light on Christmas Day for Christ's birth. But for now, this will do, and I think it'll be fun to get us started with the tradition, and maybe next year we can implement the Jessie tree and ornaments and all of that fun stuff. Another thing I've been trying to implement is this afternoon rest period. Like I said, the last 30 minutes or hour of nap time, I really try to focus on mindful rest, not necessarily scrolling through my phone or watching TV or something that I don't know, I guess what culture tells us is rest, but maybe doesn't always recharge us. So I told Nicholas the other night that I just have such a hard time, especially in busy seasons and when I'm feeling this anxiety and whatnot, I have such a hard time just not producing something. There's something in me, I think it's in a lot of us, maybe all of us, that makes us think that if we're not producing something every minute of our waking day, then we're a failure. And that's just not true. I think that that's absolutely why we have so much sickness and depression and things like that, especially in these cold months. The days are shorter, it gets dark earlier. I saw something the other day talking about chickens and their laying hens and their laying season, and how it's so cool to look at them and then compare it to ourselves, because it's like God gave them this internal need and scientific makeup of needing to reduce their amount of laying in the colder months. And part of that is so that they can rest. It said that there are certain tricks and different things that you can do to encourage their laying through the winter, as if the weather never changed and they would most likely continue laying just the same as they had all year. But by doing that, you reduce their lifespan and you increase the risks for their, health concerns and other things like that. So it's really necessary for them to get that period of rest. And then it went on to say, why in the world do we not think that we are wired in the same way? Why do we think that we can just go 100,000 miles an hour all year round and not suffer any consequences from that? And I think that that is just such a beautiful and tangible example of how it really is okay to just not produce something for 30 minutes. But my point being that I have really, really been trying to do a better job of resting. Not to mention the fact that it's almost like God orchestrates things, even in my own life, in a similar way, throughout each day. The way that our laundry is set up, it shares the same wall as our youngest daughter's bedroom, right where her crib is. So I can't run laundry when she's asleep. So the whole afternoon, I can't do laundry. I put a load in the morning before we leave, and then in the evening while I'm cooking dinner and the girls are playing, that's when I put it into the dryer. And I try to do 1 load a day. And yeah, so I try to do it that way, but it's almost like God has put this time of rest in the afternoon of my life every day by saying, this is when the baby needs to sleep. This is when you cannot do housework. This is when you need to rest. This is when you need to recharge. This is when you need to thank me, because I have you in mind at all times. And I'm amazed by that. It's things like that I find so easy to just blow right through and continue to create work where there's always going to be work, right? That's one of, I think, the most stressful parts of being a stay-at-home mom or a housewife, a homemaker, is there's always work to be done. But it's the heart that's doing the work that creates the environment for the entire house. And I want this to be a peaceful place, a place of rest, and that starts in the heart.
What do you want to watch? What? There we go. Now we can see.
Yeah.
There it is. Now hold my hand and pray. Heathen. You're going to lose a noodle. Alright, Father, thank you for this food.
You are made of the dust of this earth, and you are made of the happiness of heaven. And you are flesh, and you are spirit, and you are of two worlds, longing for the home of forever and Him. No matter your story before, this is your beginning now. You were formed by love, for love. And those are some more of the words of Ann Voskamp. I will have this devotional linked below because it's just wonderful. I've done it. This is the third time I went through it in the last 5 or 6 years, and I just love it so much. Every time, every season, it's applicable, so I want you to be able to find that if you're interested. But I will tell you that usually my day in the life vlogs are some of the least viewed and least highly rated out of all the content that I post. So it would have made so much more sense for me to post something different this week. But it just didn't feel right. And I always want to be raw and genuine and honest, and I want to share what's on my heart. I am so grateful for you watching. I'm so grateful for you being here. If you are already subscribed, I'm so thankful for your continued support. And I just love being able to create in this way, to share in this way, and to communicate in this way. It's such a wonderful opportunity, and I know that there's a lot of really great content out there. I'm just so super grateful that you chose to spend a little part of your day here with me. So I hope that you continue, or if you haven't already been having a peaceful and merry December, I pray that it would start now and that you would just have a wonderful day wherever you're at. And I'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.